Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Brooke Cole of Brooklyn Finds Design Co. Brooke, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited and a little bit nervous too. So this will be fun.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun. It's always fun to get out of that comfort zone. And you're doing so many phenomenal things. I know that our audience and guests will really learn so much from you. So before we jumped into the interview, I want to read a little bit more about Brooke so you can hear about some of those phenomenal things. And Brooke is a mom of four, wife, designer, and curator of vintage goods and home decor, and owner of Brooklyn Finds Design Co. Brooke opened her first brick and mortar shop in May 2020. She travels across the country finding the best vintage goods to create inspiring displays for her clients to shop. Her greatest joy is in connecting with people in her shop and encouraging them in their homes. Brooke, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
Yeah, let's do this.
Awesome. Let's do it then. So to kind of kick everything off, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you guys started, what I like to call your CEO story.
Yeah, how I got started was probably a few different parts. I was a stay-at-home mom, had multiple kids. I found like my identity was in the home. My background is actually in social work, family studies, but I always loved interior design, and people were asking me to come into their homes, and I truly loved and was passionate about it, and it was an outlet for me. Fast forward a little bit, trying to make some money. We went through an adoption process, and I was like, man, what can I do where I can still be at home and follow my heart, but really dive into who I am, and the talents that were given to me. As hard as it was for me to admit, I started because I think other people saw something in me more than I did originally in myself. So that really pushed me to really look at things. So I started to do some interior design, some commercial work. Fast forward to after bringing our son home from adoption, I just still had this like push to feel like I want to keep doing this. There's more than just, being home and introducing myself as a mom, not as Brooke, just as I'm Jacoby's mom, And so I started to kind of step away from that mom guilt a little bit and just follow my heart and my passion, and realize that I was showing this to not only myself, but to my kids. So I started doing some vintage markets where I was able to essentially gather vintage goods and display them for people to come and shop. And what I loved the most about that, I found, was just connecting with the people. It was just so much deeper to me than just setting up a beautiful space for them to come and shop. And that just stirred something in me a lot more, where people were like, well, where's your shop? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's in my garage. Like, I have a hoard of things, and probably have to sign like a waiver to like come in and go through it, And so I really think that along the way, it was really other people, truly, Gresh, that saw something in me that was deeper than me just doing design. It really was about connecting with people. And I think that's where my social work background kind of tied into that. And so that was neat to see that, to see that play out. And so I think finally I just, stepped out in faith, really, and just said, hey, people want a place to come and see where I'm at. Let me see what's out there. And just happened to find a storefront, right before everything hit. And I felt at peace about it. Just kind of stepped out in faith. Really, that's what it came down to. I didn't have a plan. I just got crazy, I guess, and just stepped out and opened a brick and mortar. So.
Nice. I definitely appreciate you for sharing that and all the giving that you do, especially as a, social worker, and obviously as a mom too, you're giving, so much of yourself. And I think that, I myself, when I think back to like some of the leaps of faith that I've taken, a lot of it has not been because I said that I wanted to do X, Y, and Z, as you said so well. Sometimes it's the people that are around you that said that you should be doing this, and they continue to tell you that, and you're like, I'm fine with how I am. I don't want to do anything else. But it's
Yep.
like almost as if like higher power God speaks to you to tell you to take that leap of faith, because it is, as you said so well, a gift that you have that you should be benefiting not just yourself, but so many of the people around you.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. It really came down to a point where am I just wanting to stay comfortable, or do I need to follow with truly what God has led me to do? I mean, I can be very fearful, and I felt like it was I still could give without necessarily being in social work or whatever, because I think it's easy to just play small and be like, well, what am I going to do as a designer or this? And so that has been really neat to see what I have been able to do just by following that leading. And I don't know, it's kind of want to say being obedient to it, because I'm like, I could be a rebel. And I actually decided to be like, yes, I will follow. I have a piece about this for a reason. And that was it. It was like, I just had to trust that. So that was huge.
Yeah, and you bring up a really big point, which I think sometimes, like even I forget, I have to remind myself of as well too. Is like a lot of times we think, a lot of times when you chart your own path, that sounds like you're, breaking the rules, you're creating your own path. But that obedience piece, especially if you're doing something that you're quote unquote called to do, I think is huge. And I think so many times we can think the risk lies in doing the quote unquote risky thing, which might be starting a business or whatever that path might be. But really, that's not the unrisky, that's the unrisky thing, if that's even a word, because it's the thing
We're
that you
gonna
are
make
ultimately
it
called to do. Exactly. We'll make it a word.
yeah, that's
Nice.
true. That's true.
Yeah. So I wanted to drill down a little bit more. I know you touched on it a little bit. Could you take us through how you work with your clients and how that process goes?
Sure. I think there's two sides to my business. There's the brick and mortar that I opened in May of 2020, where people can come and shop goods for their home. I definitely take pride in having a mix of like vintage and antiques, and then newer home goods. And what I do love is I have over a dozen small businesses within my shop. So other makers, like, from candles to earrings to whatever. And so I really love that, because I think it's an opportunity for me to encourage others, just like I was encouraged to be, where I was. So that's the good side of it, is people can come and shop and get some things for their home, or a great gift, for a friend or whatever. And so I love being a part of that. And then there's the services side of it, which I tend to be a little bit more quiet about, just because it is a busy season with 4 kids. Sometimes they're in home during this season, sometimes they're in school. So I'm definitely learning to ride this ride. But the services side is I can be in people's homes and write up design plans for them and encourage them and walk them through with basically like a use what you have design philosophy, which I love, like, hey, you have this, let's move some things around. Let's shake it up a little bit. And then here's a few things that you might want to add for my shop or, Target. So I do love that I can not only be a designer, but more like an advocate in people's homes. Because I think especially after this year, you realize you're home a lot, so I love being able to create a haven for people, whether it's encouraging them in my shop, or them showing me a picture, as they're shopping around. I'm like, oh, you got to get this light then, or whatever. Or if I'm in their home physically. So I do really love that I can be passionate about what I do, but truly encouraging others in their space too. So.
Yeah, I love that word haven, that you use, and I love how it kind of manifests itself in both aspects of you creating that space where people can come, but at the same time, being able to kind of come within, somebody's home or the place that they, might live and work and play now, to
Yes.
be able to kind of create that safe space, or that comfort, maybe even a better word to say. And I think especially like during times like this, I love what you said about being able to kind of create it within sometimes times what they might have there, because I think so many times in life, and especially in our homes, we think that we have to look outward for the answers, when a lot of times those answers are a lot of times within and just looking at things from a different perspective.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that's true just on a personal level, and it can definitely transition, into design too. And, my background was, when my husband and I got married, it's like we were young, he was a teacher, and I had that philosophy. It was, how can I be a good steward with what I have and get
Mm.
creative with it? And so I felt that I was really true to who I was and what using that gift to share with others and encouraging them in their home. So it has just been this cool like progression over the years of how to use my gifting. And it's hard for me even to admit sometimes, hey, that is a gifting, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we always have, like, or can have, I should say, imposter syndrome, because the things that we do naturally come so easily that we think that everybody can do it. We think that, who am I to say I can do X, Y, and Z? When in reality, those are the things that a lot of times people can signify within us and can kind of point to say, these are the things that really make you special and unique. And so I was going to actually ask you about what I call your secret sauce, which is the thing you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique. Is it that ability to be able to see that? Do you feel like that is what is part of your secret sauce?
I love that secret sauce. I definitely think that is part of my secret sauce, but I have to think, if you were to ask other people, Gresh, about what makes me unique, is I do have a very specific aesthetic, a very specific look where people can be like, oh, that's Brooklyn Finds. But I also think it is my part of my special sauce is the ability to really connect with people. And like I may have said, truly having it be deeper than design, I think is what makes me set apart from a traditional designer. Um, I think that's probably what my special sauce is being an advocate without spending a whole lot of money, and really knowing how to connect with people, to hear people, and to do my best to be a light. And so that has I think that might be my special sauce, is just that combination of, hey, use what you have design. I'm going to be an advocate for you, but I'm going to come alongside you too and encourage you, and just make people feel comfortable, because I just love people. So I think it's just been a tie-in that way that makes me special, I
Yeah, no,
guess.
I appreciate that, and I almost, and I'm sure you probably would say the same thing. Because I always feel like sometimes we can look at design as we were talking about before, being more outwardly focused. Oh, this is how something looks, but I really believe, like what you kind of talked to and spoke to about, like how you're able to see and build those connections and relationships. I almost feel like design, when it's done really really well, kind of manifests itself from the internal. And it kind of sounds like that's where you were speaking to, where you're having those conversations, having that connection, and then it manifests itself into the work that you do, the services you provide, the types of products that you mentioned that people have within your space. It kind of sounds like that's where that kind of takes goes to another level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's easy to have this stigma too. When people think design, people are thinking like, oh man, that's a lot of money. And I think that is what sets me apart, and it is what is so fun, and why I'm passionate about it is, hey, let me show you a few things. You got a budget of $100. All right, this is what I would prioritize for you. Let's make it happen. Let's make this be a special space for you and your family. So I think it's been cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely phenomenal. So I appreciate you for sharing that. And of course, doing that as well too. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
I think one of the must have things for me to be effective and do what I need to do in the day is set aside time every morning. I got to have a good cup of coffee. My husband knows if I don't have coffee, you do not want to be around. So I think just a good cup of coffee or whatever you drink, quiet time, meditation, devotion. For me, it's a small, simple devotional. Um, from that, I go to I've never been one to journal or have a planner, but I did find one in the probably past year or two that has been really helpful for me, and that is the High Performance Planner. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
heard of it.
I
Sometimes,
haven't.
okay, it's by Brendon Burchard, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, but I love the mix of it. It's just kind of laying things out, but I love that it asks questions like, who can I connect with today? Who do I need to
Mhm.
lead? Um, and so it's not like a gratitude thing, but it's a combination of let's get some stuff done, but reminding me of why I'm doing it. And so it hasn't been, that has been a great tool for me. Just it sounds simple, but a good cup of coffee, a little bit of quiet time, and knocking out my planner to set out the day of what it looks like. I'm naturally a procrastinator. I'm a creative, so I could be all over the place. But this has been something just to ground me, and to keep me aligned with who I am, what I'm passionate about, and getting some stuff done. So
Yeah, absolutely love that. And it reminds me of a quote. I think, and I don't know who even said it. It's like the systems will set you free. And I think especially for, creatives, you want to be able to not be kind of reined in or in the box, so to speak. You want to have that flexibility. But I think that sometimes we forget by having that time, as you talked about, having that morning routine with a cup of coffee and the devotional and the planning and that space, it allows you to be, I think, more effective, throughout the day because you've taken care of the things. You don't have to worry about did I get X, Y, and Z done. It's taken care of. And now you get to be creative as much as possible.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it really has helped me. And I think if someone like myself who really hasn't naturally been one to have a planner or work off of that or anything like that, um, some days I joke that it's my medium performance planner, not my high performance planner. But hey, it's it's better than nothing, right? It's setting the gears in motion for that day and just reminding you, hey, who can I drop a quick encouraging note to? Who can I, pick up the phone, and check in with and stuff. So it's been a great help for me for sure.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to as well to the journey, that we all kind of go through in life and in business, and that sometimes we forget that it's an imperfect life, and everything isn't always high performing. It could be medium, sometimes
Oh yeah.
not so high. I'll just say that. And so we have those days, and it's
Oh
so
yeah.
important to kind of understand that that's part of the process, and it's okay when that happens.
Yep, absolutely. I've had to, be kind to myself when I look at it at the end of the day, and it might be, one thing I'm checking off instead of, the five things that I had, and just being okay, and just letting that go, and just know that you're showing up, and just, keep trucking, so to speak. So
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes showing up is one of the best opportunities that you have to really continue to move the needle forward. And we forget to do that and giving ourselves credit for when we do that. So
yeah.
definitely appreciate that. And so now I wanted to ask you what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something if you were to hop into a time machine, you would tell your younger business self.
Ooh, that is so good. Okay. Ooh, I think for me, it would be, I like that I can see me looking back. I like that, how you put that. Um, I would say do it scared, because um, that's okay to do it scared. I think I had the mentality for many years that I had to have it all figured out, even leading up to me opening a store. I did not have it all figured out. I still don't have it all figured out, but just that willingness to be like, hey, I'm going to step out. I'm scared. This is more, I'm having more faith over fear in this. But just giving yourself that grace to be like, hey, it's okay. This is pretty normal to do it scared. That feeling, that butterfly in your stomach, it's there for a reason. You're not going to have it all figured out. You're not going to have all the money in your bank account that you might want to get things rolling, or you might not feel like you have, all the, T's and I's and, all that crossed off. So yeah, I think it would be, yeah, just just do it scared. Start before you're ready, I guess. Because here I am about to celebrate a year in May. It's hard to believe, like the longest year, yet the fastest at the same time. It's weird. But I look back and I'm like, I would have missed out if I had everything planned out and I wasn't scared. But along with that, just being ready to connect with others and continue to learn and grow as you go. It's okay, because if we wait until we have it all together, most likely it's not going to happen. And that was my personality. I do believe timing is perfect, and this is when I was supposed to start. But I do think I would have wanted to tell my younger self, hey, it's okay. And it's okay to show up and mess up a little bit too. I think I can naturally have like a perfectionist mindset, especially when you're dealing with, even aesthetically or whatever. So that can keep you stuck. So I think that would be my, as simple as it may be, is it's okay. It's okay to start before you're ready, so to speak, and do it a little bit scared. I think that would probably be my best nugget. I wish that someone would have told me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you definitely come across my younger business self, give him an elbow as well too, and tell him the exact same thing. Because I think we always sometimes wait for the perfect time, and sometimes that could just be a roadblock from us kind of doing whatever that thing might be. And sometimes we're always saying, "I want it to be perfect," and it's never going to be perfect. We're never going to have all the ducks in the row. And if we understand that, and I think even too, one of the things that I've kind of stepped into and learned is even the most quote unquote successful people did it scared. They didn't have everything in place and they did it anyway. So sometimes we know, if we know that the process is supposed to be messy, it's supposed to be imperfect,
Yeah.
and we take those actions, that's all we can do is show up as we talked about in the nugget in the hack. That allows us that chance to reach where we ultimately want to be. And then we can look back and say, I'm happy I just went about and did it.
Yes, I love that. And that's such a great question. I have found myself over the year when people reach out and say, hey, Brooke, I'm thinking about opening a shop, or I'm thinking about doing this. What can you tell me? And I tell them, like, hey, I'm not a natural business. I don't have a natural business mindset, right? But this is what I can tell you, and just to try to encourage them along the way. And so I love that question, Gresh. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah, no worries. And I think too, we also have to remind ourselves of as much as being successful is about like who we are and what we develop into, it's also about who we have around us. So reaching
Yes.
out and asking for help, understanding that we don't have all the boxes checked individually and we have to have help along the way is
Yes.
also one of the best things that we can kind of remind ourselves of.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So, Brooke, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I think being a CEO is loving what you are doing, right? Just being, um, having that vision, having that dream. If you're living out your dream or stepping into that dream, you're loving what you're doing. Not that it's not going to be hard, right? We've all gone through that, but I think the day that I stop loving what I'm doing, then that's not where I'm supposed to be. So
Mm.
if I'm loving what I'm doing, that's gonna be shared out to others. So it will go beyond me, even though I'm kind of a one-man show, with my shop and my business and everything, and not a lot of employees underneath me per se, except my 18-year-old daughter that I try to, get in to work for me sometimes. I think just loving what you're doing. I think that is what being a CEO means to me, is being aligned with your passions, with your dreams, and sharing that love of what you do with others. Has is what it has meant to me, I think.
Yeah, I truly appreciate that. I love that definition just because a lot of times it's those kind of pulling of the heartstrings, so to speak, that allows us to enjoy the really high highs of business, but also the not so high highs because we truly love, what we're doing. And I think that and I love the point that you bring up as well too about it being infectious, because you mentioned like being an inspiration as well to your children and to all the people around you. And I think so many times when we have that love and passion and we kind of roll up our sleeves, so to speak, and do that work, it not only helps us and puts us in a really great place, but I think it also is so infectious and a reminder to so many other people around us that it's just a reminder of why we're doing exactly what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want not only my children, but others looking in to see, wow, she's being a light in this community. She's connecting, she's loving what she's doing. And that is a gift. And I think that was something that I had to really work through, is that, I might not be on the mission field, in Africa and bringing, clean water, anything like that. But my mission feels almost here. It's my community. It's what my kids are seeing. And when come from a place of love, you're loving what you're doing, that does it does spread. So that excites me. That excites me to be able to share my love for design and for people and for my dream with others.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Brooke, truly appreciate you for sharing all the awesome work and all the awesome things that you're doing with us. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Well, Gresh, I just appreciate this time with you. I think it was good just to step out of my comfort zone, and I would just encourage people to continue to do that. But where you can find me is on Instagram and Facebook at Brooklyn Finds or Brooklyn Finds Design Co. And just follow along, see what I'm finding, see what I'm doing, and I'd love to connect with you.
Absolutely. And to make it even easier, we'll have the links and information in the show notes. And for your brick and mortar, where is that located so people local can find it?
My brick and mortar is in Greeley, Colorado, 918 and a half 9th Avenue in historic downtown Greeley.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So if you're definitely in that location as well, too, be sure to check that out. But thank you so much again for taking some time out and all the awesome work that you're doing. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.